Freddie had gone to bed, so had Alexandre. I was alone, stewing over the incident, when the phone rang. My number was unlisted, so I presumed some friend was calling. Hello? The voice at the other the voice at the other end said, "Hello, Flynn?" "Yes, who is this?" "That don't matter. Listen, Flynn, you got a lucky break." "Lucky break about what?" "You know what. Downtown, you got a lucky break." "That's a matter of opinion, anyway. What's on your mind? Who are you?" "I'm not identifying myself," this man said, "but I will tell you something. If you know what's good for you," then he asked, "Do you know Jack Warner?" "Of course." "Well, just ask Jack if he knows Joe. Just say Joe." "Joe. He must know a million Joes. Why should I?" "Just tell him Joe called you. If Warner only knows what's good for him, and if you know what's good for you, you will just drop a little thing called 10 G's at the corner of Melrose and La Cienega." "Repeat that, will you?" "Okay, I'm telling you now. If you think you've been hit, don't wait. Get 10 G's down there, or brother, you will never know what really hit you. Today is Monday. I'll give you 2 nights to get it there. Otherwise, brother, on Wednesday, you will have had it." I figured I was talking to some crank. So, before hanging up, I said, "Oh, sure, $10,000. How do you like it? In nickels or dimes?" "Okay, wise guy, I guess you don't know what's good for you. You'll find out. Why don't you go to hell?" And I hung up. I paid no attention to this. I figured it was just some crank. I supposed I was a free man. The charges took only a few minutes for the grand jury to throw out. In cases like that, where the grand jury has refused to indict, perhaps not in 100 years has the district attorney's office gone any further, although, under the law, the district attorney could proceed. The mysterious telephone call couldn't have hit the nail more on the head. On Wednesday, the district attorney's office announced that they were going to override the grand jury's decision and proceed against me on the same charges. Everyone was flabbergasted. The studio, my lawyer, my friends. When I heard about this, I was holding in my hands a cablegram from my father. He had indulged in a bit of whimsy. He had learned of my acquittal, and he cabled, "How was it, anyway?" When this new announcement was made, Bob Ford quickly realized that he shouldn't handle it himself. "This is very serious," he said. "There is only one man for it, Jerry Gersier. I'm going to retain him if I can. Bob, do what you think best." Giesler had a wonderful reputation, but he did not come cheap. I was told that when Giesler took the case of Busby Berkeley, who was charged with manslaughter for being drunk and killing 3 people, it cost Berkeley a fortune to have Giesler defend him. Giesler agreed to take the case. I was taken down to the police station and fingerprinted. I found myself sitting on a long bench next to a fellow, and at once he gave me the lowdown on jail conditions in the vicinity. "What are you here for, Errol?" "Rape." "Aw, that's nothing." "What are you here for, brother?" I asked. "Kidnapping. That's 10. 10 what?" "10 years," he said. "But of course I'm innocent." I turned to a colored fellow sitting on the other side of me. "What are you here for, pal?" "Murder. But of course I'm innocent." Then he asked me, "What are you here for?" "I'm innocent too, chum." Bob Ford was in another part of the courthouse trying to arrange bail. Jerry Giesler was in conference with the district attorney's men, and my colleagues with charges against them continued chummy with me. One guy said, "Errol, don't get down to Lincoln. They don't give you a break down there. The county jail's the best. You can't get it better, kid. For Christ's sakes, a guy lives well there. The boys get a break, and they ain't a bad bunch of guys." "Who?" "The wardens. Who else? They're all crooks like us." Jesus, I thought. Am I the only one of the am I one of the boys already? This same information went on. "Of course, the best thing can happen to you. You're sent to the honor farm. There it's fine. You're out in the sunshine. All you have to do is try to get a rake and scratch up something." I listened appreciatively, wondered whether I had the influence enough left around town to get a rake. He went on, You might be able to make a rake job, Errol. Don't get none of them shovels. Jesus, you've got to dig. I have blisters on my hands. Somebody else cut in. Nah, a soft spot's the dispensary. A big shot like him, he could get into the dispensary, maybe. Another soft spot is the library. Jesus, that's a good idea. Try and make the library, Errol. Sit down on your arse and you read. On all sides, I could see and feel nothing but disaster. The idea of books cheered me up a little bit, but not much. They took me up to the top floor to measure me. If I went to prison, I was going to have a nice striped suit, one that fitted me well. And if I tried to make a prison break, maybe a coffin. What nobody knew but Freddie and myself was that I had made up my mind that I would never let them send me to jail on this deal. I had made arrangement to have a two-motor Beechcraft sitting out at the Burbank airport because I knew I could get out on bail, and if the thing looked bad, unbeatable, I was going to leave the United States forever. I would head first for Mexico, and from there. Jerry Geisler never asked me whether I was guilty or innocent, not once in the next 5 months of trial operations. Maybe he was afraid I was guilty and didn't want to know it, but at the outset, in my first talk with him, I told him of the mysterious telephone call I had and pointed out to him the things that had happened just as the guy on the phone predicted they would. All that he said was, "Very interesting," nothing more. Geisler, with his own special genius, discovered by talking with the district attorney's office, knowing downtown politics, looking into the present and recent political picture in Los Angeles, that there appeared to be a whole political force at work to get me, men with their own axes, ambitions, motives. He didn't tell me what he uncovered, but he did tell Bob Ford. He discovered the following. The previous district attorney, Burren Fitz, had been the protector of Hollywood's big names and squashing any kind of complaints. The big studios naturally supported him generously in his political campaigns, so much so that he had been in office 3 terms, and that was an almost unheard of thing. Since he had made 3 terms, it looked likely that he might win a 4th. So the big studios supported him in a race against an opponent, John Dockweiler, called Honest John Dockweiler. The studios, while they made large contributions to Fitt's election, had only made small token ones to Honest John's campaign, which was worse than giving nothing. But in a landslide victory, Fitz was knocked out, and Honest John moved in. He brought in with him, of course, a lot of sub-district attorneys who had to make their reputations. They had won the hard way, and they had vengeance in their hearts. They said, okay, instead of getting any preferential treatment, the first guy of your lot who gets in trouble has had it. Watch. I was the first guy. Soon after the Honest John administration came into office, these moves against me began. Moreover, after this began, I had a very strong feeling, which by now was widely shared, that I was being railroaded for some unknown reason. I couldn't figure it out. At that time, neither could anyone else. But supposing there's a big political force with its own objectives, out to get someone, out to make an example, out to get revenge for some party politics, you still have to do what Jerry Geisler had to do. You have to conduct your defense on the basis of the actual charges, the merit in the case, the specific counts. You couldn't try a political grouping. You might see and understand that this throwing of the book at someone was a consequence of the internecine local politics, but a defense had to be conducted on the basis of the actual complaints. I had never been in trouble in Hollywood, but I was known as a roisterer. I was vulnerable, an ideal scapegoat. For what went on trial there in the Los Angeles courthouse was my personality, and above all, my way of life. Certainly, it was a much more complicated thing than has ever been presented by the press, the magazine writers, the clowns who joke about me on radio and television, and the fellows around saloons who tell salacious stories. Bear in mind that at this time, although married, I was technically a bachelor, a man living alone. I had no evil practices. I did no one any injury. I wasn't even drinking much. I would have champagne around, and if people wanted it, they could have it, and I'd take a bit with them. But that was it. I was 34, in my prime. Women liked me. I liked them. Nobody got hurt. I thought, let's have fun. Let's live by the sunshine. Let's swim and play. Let's make love. Let's cruise in the Pacific. Let's have pleasant parties, gay chatter. Let's work. Let's make pictures. Let's entertain the people. Let's be artists if we can. This was my balls, my way of living, breathing, and exulting in the short, swift act called creation. Am I supposed to live as other people? Are they supposed to do what I do? Do I have to be made over into their image and they into mine? A man who is so overwhelmed by willing females has a special problem. But Ernst ribbed me unmercifully, saying it was the girls who were taking me over and over again, and that I was incapable of making them. In fact, he provoked my manhood by this, for it was true. My problem was not to get girls into my life, but to get them out, once they had me. A strange story, of course, and one perhaps that men all over may envy, but it has been true, and it was why I got into this scrape of the 5 months that shook the world's glands. There has to be something wrong with any man who says he is not interested in the company of the opposite sex. I'm a man who likes female company. I always have, and I always will. But I like having wonderful gay people of both sexes around. I particularly like to have youngsters about, reminding me of how life is always renewing itself. In brief, I like people. I like to enjoy the thrill of living every day, every hour of the day, for we are here only this once, and let's feel the wind while we may. For months, the case drifted, with postponement after postponement. Giesler wanted and needed time. He had to prepare his defense the way a general plots a campaign. He told me later, "The whole secret of my success is preparation. You cannot go too far with preparation." He dug up everything he could on the young ladies. He maneuvered. He studied the law. These delays seemed not to disturb the prosecution. They liked the big newspaper play. The new prosecutors were getting known about California. But the press, remarkably fair to me, began to ask questions. What's going on downtown? Who's out to get Flynn? Why has this specific actor been chosen for a going over? Hollywood's morals had often been criticized. Now it seemed the incident had appeared which was to set off the whole question of the cinema capital's morality. This was the exterior look of the case as it loomed, but behind it was simply this local political hassle, a payoff deal to get even with the big studios for not coughing up properly. Dockweiler and a few prosecuting attorneys out to make their names over somebody's dead body. During this period, I neither heard from my people in England nor did I write to them, perhaps at most a single letter, to let them know my troubles continued. I only felt an uncontrollable sense of shame and involvement when I thought of them. Later I heard that they were stunned at the news of the revival of the action, but helpless. Beyond that, Belfast was being bombed heavily, so that my problems may not have been so noticeable in that community. Lily was by no means out of my hair, though we were divorced. She began about that time an unceasing battle, continuing into the present, to take me financially. Being single, I could, when I wasn't working, stay in my room and think, or walk the floors. I could get out alone on the Mulholland property and walk with my anger and confusion, and I did.